Greetings and welcome to the Dr. J Vlog series. It's Monday, April 20th, 2026, and this is actually the fourth installment of the Poetry and Prose subsection that I've recently created on the YouTube channel. In the previous installment, some of you will know that I recited two of Laura Gilpin's poems from her 1977 work, The Hocus-Pocus of the Universe. First was her poem, Life After Death, and the second was perhaps her most famous poem, Two-Headed Calf. So I'll leave a link in the description below, and you really should hear or read those poems if before proceeding, because spoiler alert, I'm going to be talking about, reacting to, and analyzing both of those poems briefly today, offering a few comments on the main themes. Before we continue, though, a quick request. If you happen to like the content that I'm producing and would like to support the channel, I suggest that you be sure to remember to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go, and maybe share this channel with a friend or two, or somebody that you love who you think might be interested in the content. Okay, so first let's talk about Gilpin's poem, Life After Death. In that particular poem, she expresses the sentiment that many of us increasingly share. That is, that death's just another part of life, part of the unbroken chain that links everything together in the hocus-pocus of the universe. Gilpin's expressing the view that I only arrived at really much later in life. I mean, truly and deeply arrived at and came to appreciate. And that is essentially that the universe does, in fact, waste nothing. That's part of what she expresses in the poem. She's conveying the message quite simply and powerfully through the example then specifically of the dead tree in the forest. So again, she depicts what happens and the many transformations and changes that occur, and how the death of that tree, of course, gives life to so much more. Its aftermath. So again, in the main thesis, basically suggesting that we're all composed of light and energy in these materials that are woven together, at least into these temporary conditions, these temporary states of being. Right? And then as we age, any living entity, and eventually we draw our last breath, we are then transformed. So it's kind of a universal theme. Again, like the former great tree in the forest that she describes, we take on new forms in death. And like the tree, we too leave behind all kinds of matter, material, and that's all going to be then ultimately recycled into the Earth's environment, reborn into countless new forms of life. And in the end, she speaks, the simplest, the truest, the most illuminating words I think we can speak on the subject when she writes simply that nothing is wasted in nature or in love. Beautiful sentiment. And the truth of that statement connects, I think, quite directly with the companion piece that I recited, titled The Two-Headed Calf. That poem, by the way, is one that not only is one of my favorites, I mentioned that in the other vlog, but I also have it pinned on the door to my office at the university because I figure, sometimes people are lingering in the hallways, and why not have something inspiring for them to read if they choose to look at what's posted there on the door. It's the only thing I have posted on the door, by the way. And so the poem then depicts the brief life of this innocent calf, newborn calf that is born with two heads. It's a rare genetic condition. It does happen, and it's known as a polycephaly, many heads, and typically results in stillborn births. But sometimes the calf will live for a few hours, or maybe even a day or two. And so the poem then conveys, I think, two key messages in terms of the short and tragic life of this particular two-headed calf. So the first stanza describes the inevitable death that awaits the calf by morning. She's anticipating, right? And then the human handlers, the farm hands, are expected then to perceive the calf as this, quote, freak of nature that's going to be discarded, carried away to the museum so that others can, in a bewildered way, I presume, stare at this freak of nature. But on the other hand, of course, the calf knows nothing of any of this, nothing of its fate, I mean, at that point, I don't suspect it knows, but maybe it does. Who knows? And it certainly doesn't know about the aspersions that are going to be cast upon it by others. That is, at least in terms of the humans, who see no value or beauty in a two-headed calf that's going to live such a short life. So the second stanza then offers a vastly different interpretation of the two-headed calf, at least from the perspective of the calf. So we learn, of course, that the calf is enjoying, quote, a perfect summer evening. Come what may, the calf is alive right now and in the north field with its mother. And quoting from the poem, gazing at the stars and the summer sky. And so I think perhaps most profoundly of all, although we as onlookers might find it rather difficult to love or to fully appreciate the brief life of a two-headed calf, that just reflects our own limitations, our own biases, if you will. If we accept the premise that nature truly wastes nothing, we should be able to recognize then the precious beauty embodied by that two-headed calf. It's alive, at least for the moment, but more than that, it also has a special gift that we'll never know. Those two heads afford the calf the opportunity to do something and see the world in a unique way that we'll never know. Gilpin writes, and then in that final line, and as he stares into the sky, there are twice as many stars as usual, as compared to what the rest of us see. And so, again, the poem speaks to the importance of enjoying whatever precious moments that we might have, whatever we might be, we are here now, and we can be grateful and appreciative of just that simple fact alone. We're reminded that we should, in fact, treasure the beauty that surrounds us from whatever vantage point, whatever lens we might be viewing the world and the universe. And by the same token, though, we should also learn to appreciate others' perspectives, the insights and the beauty of the others that surround us, and the ways in which they might be able to see the world and share those experiences with us. And again, the people that we meet along the way, regardless of whether they have two heads or two hearts or one leg or one eye, whatever their condition. So, and who knows what they might be able to see, what they might be able to understand that we cannot, or what pleasures they might be able to enjoy that lie beyond our reach. And besides, in some real senses, I think we're all freaks of nature, certainly from a statistical standpoint. The fact that you and I are even alive is a statistical improbability. I mean, in terms of what we had to do to get here, that defies all possible mathematical calculations. So, yeah, why not enjoy and appreciate the freaks of nature, wherever they might be, whatever forms they might assume, because who knows what they might have to offer. All right, as ever, may you and yours continue to create peace in your lives, nurture love in your hearts, and dole out hugs in abundance, and hope to see you again soon. Peace.